I'm happy to start, Shivani, if you.
Okay. Yeah, go ahead. I think you can give
Yeah.
the overview much better.
So I kind of come from a long line of blockchain investing, having been rather early to Ethereum, and then 2017, being deeply involved with everything ICO. I have kind of an investment background, social impact background. Participated in Decentraland ICO, which led me to virtual lands, which led me to Somnium Space, where I started purchasing lands in January of 2020. So right around the time I got introduced to Super Rare as an equity investment, and then kind of just in some due diligence there, began poking around the website and just really absolutely began to fall in love with what I was seeing. Um, for me, I guess the first initial impression was that art could be online and it could be digital, and I did not need the physical piece to feel like I actually owned it. And those were a lot of concepts that came from just having been involved with Bitcoin and Ethereum and ICOs. What that those initial things really taught me was that it really was about having an idea and vision for the future, and then putting money towards like actualizing that to happen. um so for the first, I think my first purchase of a crypto artwork was February 12th of 2020. It was a Miss Al Simpson piece called Lady Luck. And from there, the museum was born in April 2020. It was a metaverse first museum. It was inspired by museum trip I had taken in central Brazil called In Ho Chi Minh, which was very different to the New York museums that I was used to. A big multi-acre open air walking park, kind of dotted with artist installations throughout. And instead of being put on a kind of like curated path, you were really given like the ability to explore with your eye, and what attracted your eye is where you ended up going. And I thought this was just kind of like a wonderful and exciting medium for VR and for Somnium Space in particular. Um, Shivani, do you want to maybe like take it from there a bit and talk kind of like about the artist solo shows and maybe more like broadly crypto art as an art movement?
Yeah, I think, so I think you ended around like April where you started. Um, over the next 9 months until December of 2020, um, I came in like in October. But during that time, um, we started doing solo exhibitions with different artists. I think seven in total. There would be like a collection of maybe 4 to 5 works, or more, maybe even 8, and then a piece of land in Somnium Space, exhibition design with like architecture, a curation. So really trying to display and showcase artwork in a way that there was an environment in which you could view it rather than simply a gallery or like a sense of viewing, but like a whole other aesthetic experience. And I think the VR experience is like the ultimate one. And that is why all of it was done in Somnium Space. But, um, during that time also, Colborn amassed a really large collection of artwork, um, as wide and deep as one could go in crypto art. And that in itself became a lot of the beacon of the museum, that there was a place where people were trying to collect for the sake of an actual art movement that was happening. That being said, with the influx of more money, there is like more bias that comes in. And so starting in 2021, we, we're like looking at the landscape, thinking about how to approach it from a long term standpoint. And rather than, you know, move in the direction of being kind of an informal museum. We incorporate it as a foundation, which then allows us to bring in certain artworks that will never be sold and therefore preserve their story and try to uplift it. So in a traditional museum, you would have certain wings dedicated to like certain movements or different time periods. And because this is a contemporary art movement, this museum isn't so much focused on like only preserving what has happened because we're so recent, but it is very much trying to ask everyone, including everyone listening right now, just to think about like what crypto art means in relation to like different file types, places around the world that people are coming together to put their art online, what it means to have like accessible art rather than like private collections where you can't see anything, which is like how it's always been done in the past, and pretty much poking the button as much as we can on what it means to have some kind of shared story. So we're moving towards ultimately becoming like a decentralized museum, meaning that the curation and the governance will be determined by people who decide to be part of the art and the story. I feel like that was like super long and winding, but I tried to just follow like a chronological timeline.
Ah, that was very well
Um,
said.
yeah, and where are we today now? It's
I mean, we are
a lot.
everywhere, right? Yeah. Like, now it's it's a foundation that has its own token, that is a DeFi project, that we have Fabine Rashid here, who's helped coordinate like a massive AR project. We're in virtual reality, we're on the web, we're in Somnium Space, we're in Decentraland, we've done exhibitions in RAM. um when in the past like 2 months we've done physical exhibitions in Denver, Berlin, Prague, and Shanghai.
Yeah.
So the beauty of the museum, of course, is that it's natively digital and scalable uh, Web3 infrastructure, and we can just like get out there and tell artist stories, and anybody anywhere that wants to kind of the way I see it is that ultimately the collection becomes a public good for the evangelizing of crypto art and what it means to be a crypto artist, and anybody anywhere in the world can take the collection, go showcase the collection, go give it as an example for people to understand what it means to create like blockchain and crypto art, and how really all of these chains as like open access networks that don't require permission uh, can be like the capturers of global creative output.
And yeah, so just I think as of today now we've done like 21 exhibitions involving maybe 300 plus artists, meaning like artwork that was curated or specifically put together for a show. And I think the physical exhibits have started happening, the physical in-person ones started happening as the pandemic kind of slowed down over the last couple of months, but that's been incredibly exciting because regional discussion, like actually in person, just like we're talking about with NFT NYC or in London, really leads to people like seeing the thing and then getting that it's all real. Um, and because, in this world, we're like basically transacting the intangible for the intangible. Like it's very, very hard to like put your fingers on it if you're not in it. And so having those in-person exhibits I think are really important. And I also like with Fabine's project, I think we could just, because he's here, it would be great, Fabine, if you wanted to talk about that. I think it's one of the coolest things.
Hey, Shivani. Yeah, so the I mean, it was a great opportunity to collaborate with MOCA on the augmented reality project, and I think the larger idea was it's kind of a contradiction, really. I mean, you have physical artworks which can be only at a place, and you have digital artworks which can be anywhere in the world. But then, what if we could tie digital artworks to a particular place. And that's kind of, and since I've been exploring location-based AR artworks, I thought MOCA is planning or is turning out to be one of the virtual museums, which is kind of the beacon for the crypto art movement. And that way, I thought, why not? It could be something on the lines of augmented reality and a spatially decentralized kind of a museum. And that's where we thought we'll have some of the genesis pieces of Museum of Crypto Art located in different locations all around the world, and people could visit these places, take photographs with it, post the artwork in augmented reality on walls or galleries or locations, tourist locations, etc. And it was amazing to see the reception from the community. Also, there were people traveling and taking these photographs with these artworks and sharing it around. And yeah, it was amazing. And hopefully we'll have the second batch of artworks released sometime later. And yeah.
Sabine, do you have anything that maybe you can share on the chat, just to kind of like give a visual representation of?
Sure. Let me. I'm absolutely not sure how. Okay, I'll let me get that. Let me get that. I'll share it. Which channel should I share it in, Miko?
Just the residency second cohort text channel. I'll ping
I
you.
also have like two
Got.
photos. I'll send it in there.
Yeah. Thanks. And I was wondering if we can also like maybe talk a little bit about like the construction of the permanent collection and how that came about, and also all of the different functionalities and things and like ways that people can interact with the museum, whether it's like the profile on your DApp, like voting, curating their own collection, etc.
Yeah, definitely. So, right now the collection that we're building is called the Genesis Collection, and this is really meant to um, bring in one work for one artist that was in the space prior to December 2020. It made, a positive and significant contribution to the space. We chose that timeline because that was really, when if you were there before December 2020, there was probably like an ideological reason that you were there. The market had not really kind of blown up to the extent that it was. And it's really just meant to recognize kind of like the early contributors who, put their weight and efforts and, whatever it is, blood, sweat, and tears behind crypto art as a movement and NFT as a medium. So, right now there are about 200 pieces in that Genesis collection that have been irrevocably donated. The way that people can interact with that collection to start is that, they can do something as simple as leave an on-chain like, or they can leave, an on-chain comment associated with that work. Those comments will travel with the artwork forever. Um, and all of this is done gaslessly, which is nice. So people don't have to pay to have these interactions with the collection. Where this is building to is, we have kind of the beta for a large scale forum board, which we're hoping people will, begin to go back into and kind of, write the history of the space, tell the stories of themselves as an artist, tell the stories of themselves as collectors. These are, these profiles in this forum board is tied very much to people's members passes, which capture the collection that they have or the works that they've produced, and allow people to kind of like present a curated version of OpenSea that has Discord integration, and makes it very easy to kind of like share certain subsections of your collection, and point to certain either themes you might have identified, or reasons you might have purchased these things. All of this information is going to be used to assemble a virtual curator, right? Which will be a series of AI and machine learning algorithms that effectively begin to learn all of the art pieces in the collection, all of the artists in the collection, all of the reasons, why these artworks and these artists kind of fit into the crypto art narrative. And it will allow anybody to go to our museum website and begin to have a conversation. So you could say to the curator, show me a portrait in the Genesis collection, and let's say up would pop Osinachi's self-portrait. You could say, who is the artist? It would say Osinachi. Tell me about Osinachi. Osinachi is a Nigerian artist who, and the idea is that you can begin to have the conversation that you want to have with the artwork, and in the aggregate of the information that we're assembling from all of the participants, you get more of a, I would say, non-biased, trained, like global community brain of what is the truth of the space. And this is the conversation that we're trying to encourage people to have, to go deeper into the pieces and to go deeper beyond market.
Yeah, and alongside that is also a focus on like the environment and architecture of how you would like to put a collection together, whether that's our collection or yours or both. And so we're speaking with a lot with kind of Untitled XYZ, but also like a lot of different architects that seem to have all these different concepts around what is the best way to like experience the aesthetics of the metaverse, but also like start to like, because if you think about architecture in the real world, there's purpose behind why people come together in certain ways, and especially what like with like the city of Seoul announcing that they want to have their own metaverse, like city hall, and like basically a digital city that lives and allows people to like congregate sometimes easier than you could in person because you can easily access it. You start to think about like what kind of space and purpose do you want in the metaverse, and this museum, hopefully, if it's a Web3 museum, truly it needs to really ask people to find the value that they are seeking, not just tell them that this is what it is statically. So I think the virtual curator and these spaces will really help people define that for themselves. Yeah.
Twitter Spaces has these emoji and claps and everything. I just wanted to clap and I can't find them here.
Oh yeah, it has the little hands. Yeah.
I mean, the vision here is not small, right? And I think really, I just like feel so deeply that we need to be a museum for the public good. We need to be a museum to tell artist stories. We need to perhaps be like the only vanguard for like activity that exists outside of the market, although McCall has also very much taken that mantle, and is like doing such incredible work. So we're continuing to like find the good people in this space who are willing to support the art and the artists, something that is very native to the culture that I identify with, and what I want to see in this world.
I definitely think with like NFTs kind of going everywhere now, like I saw them, like my friend sent me a photo of like collect your NFT at the British Museum, and then my brother sent me a photo like within the same hour of after he went to a 49ers game, he got like an email saying collect your NFT as like memorabilia for going to this football game. Like they're becoming like so mass, you know, media culture, like to an extent where it's like a bit sad because now you're just inundated with like shitty imagery that you like don't really want to see. So I think what we're doing is really important because we would like to uplift like the visuals and the stories that actually lead to some kind of higher compassion, vulnerability, love, inspiration, ambition, like positive things. And that's what like all of you as artists are able to do so amazingly. So yeah, I any questions, like any thoughts on what we could do here that would cultivate emerging artistry more, like so open to it all. And Nicole, of course, wherever you'd like to take the conversation.
Look, I'd say Shivani, nobody even mentioned the incubator.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I know. It's like there's so much stuff that I even like. Yeah, but it is really really cool. It's an incubator of crypto art, which was started at the same time as the museum in April of 2020, and it's served in the past to give a single artist different land in Somnium space to explore and build so they can start to think about like VR art, or even like sculpture or even like exhibition spaces for their own ideas. And in the last few months, we've transitioned to trying to support art collectives and communities, as opposed to single artists. So currently, there's 7 groups in the incubator of crypto art, or kind of partnered with that. Working with Nicole is one of those mandates to support emerging artists, and whether that's through land, whether that's through resources, whatever, anything, all of the above to support that. There's the Guild, which is spearheaded by Rutger van der Tas and Shinji from South Africa, and a couple other artists, and they have a group around the world that creates art together. Maybe like around 100 and I think it's like 115 artists. Then there's Afro Future DAO, which is supporting East African and I think now also West African artists, led by Osinachi and Andrew, who is in the kind of, I think he started in like the DeFi space. But so 1, 2, 3. The other art collective is, sorry, there's like a really loud dog. And there's 3 more art collectives. Crypto Argentina, which is amazing. They're like a group of almost like 350 artists out of Buenos Aires, and they continue to like they want to start their own residency program as well. But they have they're building an exhibition in the incubator as well. And then District XYZ, which for right now is like about 6 architects that Kirk has brought together. And there's one more that I'm forgetting. Oh, IRL Art out of Denver, run by Annie Phillips. She's, I think, onboarded like almost like 1,000 artists into the NFT space from Midwest United States and like all across the world. And they primarily do in-person exhibits, like with Meow Wolf, and they work with like Meta Factory now to like try and help different artists like become designers for different like DeFi projects. So they try and like commercialize a lot, like, and just help certain artists find different pipelines. But yeah, the incubator is trying to work with like all these different collectives who are seeking path forward for artists from all across the world. So I think it's very exciting.
It's so exciting. So much has happened as well since the last time we had this, which is incredible.
Yeah, I know. Things move really, really fast here.
I want to see, I think like there, I'd love to open it up to like questions or like thoughts. I might have a few, but I'll leave the mic to whoever wants to speak or ask questions. I'm also looking at the chat, so if you can't speak and you want to type, I can read it out.
Oh, hey. So I just love it that the Museu has an incubator for crypto artists around the globe because it's really important to empower voice beside uh, beyond the North Global. And yeah, I just would you like to know how can a collective or a community or a DAO can like apply to be inside of this incubator? And yeah, that's it. Like I just love it to know more about the museo because I've seen a lot of the movements of the museo in the beginning of the year, and that's awesome to be here now listen you guys. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to hear from you. I just
Yeah,
please send me a direct message and we can talk.
and I want to say
Awesome.
bon dia and a call to
Bom
like
dia.
bon dia. I've been following I've been following your work. Your work is super, super cool. So it's cool. It's great to see you in this residency program.
Oh, cool, cool. What's our user? That's the same on Scarge. I will see here. I don't know if I follow you. Sorry.
It's okay. It's okay. I
That's
remember.
fine.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, nice. Thank you so much. My English is not so good, but yeah, you're
No,
getting
No
it's
it.
problem.
Bom
perfect.
dia.
My Portuguese is terrible.
Awesome.
I also want to add just on this, on the incubator as well, like we have, because like vertical crypto art is part of the incubator, we do have a space that is there for everyone, for this group, for the previous artists in the cohort to be used as much or as little, however you want to. Some of the artists from the first group are actually like kind of building the build, or at least one iteration of the build that might be the home for some exhibitions in that space. But it's, very kind of build as we go, and from the more we have input from more voices and people, the better it is. I think Mikal joined the working group, let's say, quote unquote working group yesterday, but if you pop on the architecture channel, you'll see like a few people kind of like working here and there on the building. And yeah, it's very much like I'm very open to any suggestion, any thoughts, anything that any of you would like to do with it, really.
Yes, I see Murat and Walt and Mikhail.
Mm-hmm.
I think um maybe we should all just chat. Who like I feel like we've been talking for a while and then we can
Yeah,
decide
absolutely.
the parcel. And I love the idea that both of them have had, which is like kind of brutalist architecture, which is more kind of like heavy, thick, almost like concrete in the real world, but like it makes for like a bit of a shell on the inside, and then from the outside it ends up looking like clay. It's really cool. Let me see if I can drop some of the images that um, he put together. He's really brilliant, Morat. Like
Yeah,
amazing.
great. Yeah. But again, like it's I think, we have like a few other, anyways, it's like the chat is there, so it's open to anybody who wants to like have a look. And also like if you have other ideas that you want to share with me, with Shivani, feel free to ping us, DM us anytime. Um Mr. Ritchie has a question. He says, hey, wanted to ask you about future museum wings and new MOCA missions. I know you have some great plans.
Very good question.
That's a very good question. It's all certainly in the pipeline. Like I have to first of all like thank Mr. Ritchie for being one of like the greatest, best supporters. I remember seeing his art when it popped up on Async, and it was like, okay, this is like gonna be a friend and an incredible crypto artist. We have an amazing community manager, Klang Tono, who puts all of those missions together. But I think for like the core team at the moment, we've done just so many group exhibitions, solo exhibitions. We have two main focus. One, I think, is the idea of the virtual curator and just getting this living history going. And then the other that we didn't particularly talk about, Shivani, is the idea of collector rooms
Yes.
and additional wings. And I think that, that probably would speak less to the artists here, and we don't have to touch on it as it's more like a collector functionality. But we're really trying to think about how do we begin to build like the architectural primitives, and how do we develop like a sustainable ongoing revenue model for the museum through I guess collector donations, which would then translate into having a like room and a wing within the museum. um, it's we've kind of detailed all of these things on our Medium page, and the roadmap that we laid out. And it's funny to me that instead of going like step by step, we just decided to tackle everything at once.
Yeah.
But it seems to be working.
I'll just add, yeah, Mr. Ritchie, you're amazing, and thank you so much for like all the contributions, all the thoughts, and so much work too in the whole MOCA world. I think I kind of see the after the Genesis collection, um, once that is kind of more closed with these last contributions for this year, then like opening up more to like a permanent collection where collectors have their own wings if they would like. Now, it really depends on sentiment, but in the discussions that we were having, maybe in like June, there were two collectors, like I'm just thinking about Metakovan and Manta, who like were ultra supportive, wanting to like build like co-branded spaces that would be part of the museum. And we honestly, it kind of fell back with everything else. But I think that's something that we can start again once the permanent collection opens up. Oh, and in terms of missions, I do not know exactly what Michael has planned, but I think I feel like he'll also start the next set. Maybe not this year, or it could be like right at the end of December, and move on. But we will keep you updated.
Are there any other questions or thoughts? Also, a good place to, I think, keep like your eyes peeled on everything is your Discord, right? I think you do a lot on there, so I'll just copy the link.
Yeah, I mean it's everywhere. Definitely, please come into our Discord, poke around. I think it really is kind of designed like a series of rabbit holes, and I think people can find themselves stumbling all over the different like digital places that we exist and we inhabit. um and that's, I would say, almost intentional. We want to make it so people can just kind of get a bit lost in the exploration, and when you think of like a big labyrinthine museum, that's kind of what this is, but in web space or in digital space.
Gabrielle says, what are some of the parameters that you choose new pieces for the collection? Innovation, artist background, concept, aesthetics. Bom dia from Brazil.
Bom dia. A lot of Brazilians. It's amazing. Um, I'll say something, broadly. There is a Nino Artero is kind of like in my mind, a visionary crypto artist. Um, if you don't know the work of Nino, check it out. He's written a lot of like crypto art manifestos, also in Portuguese, in Brazilian Portuguese. So what are some of the criteria when we look for pieces? One, I'll say, like, I am a vanguard of crypto art as a movement, and I recognize that crypto art is kind of very broad, but for me, I am looking for a visual language to the cryptocurrency revolution. This is a ideological revolution that spoke to me many, many years ago and still does to this day. Like, I believe, I don't believe in like that governments should be the steward of money. I believe that, it's better to put like faith and trust in sound, stable, secure money. Believe this leads to like a more fair world. Um, and just having like knowledge of what the political and economic climate is in a place like Brazil. I think crypto art gives people a way to like share their creative voice and what they're feeling with the world. So I'm kind of looking for like reactionary art that captures kind of time and spirits of the moment. And how does something like cryptocurrency, enable people to go on a path to perhaps more self-sovereignty, self-determination, to be owners of their data, to be kind of like more stewards and in control of their life. For me, this is like all very ideological, and how the arts like captures this tremendous shift that we're all undergoing is pivotal to me.
Yeah, I think Colborn collects with like a really strong set of principles, which comes through in the artwork. And just speaking from the side of like the Genesis collection itself, it was the decision making was really around like pre-December 2020, or not like hard and fast, but really trying to recognize like the people who were foundational in like minting and in bringing in other artists and becoming collectors themselves as artists. Like they like so many creators took on different roles, but they were like very 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 much integral to everything we have today. And they built the basis for which this all the emerging artists are able to come in around. So that was the decision making around that collection. I think moving forward, it's really gonna, for example, with like these different exhibitions, it depended on like the theme of choice to like pull from the existing like huge collection that is there. And then I think there is a particular preference for artworks that are like unique in the sense that they're not just JPEGs per se, like meaning that maybe the visual itself is striking, or like the file type is different, or it's an object, or it's a film which continues in like a series of like four NFTs rather than in one. So kind of broadening past like the singular one. I think is my sense. Yeah.
See, there's some people typing, so I'll maybe wait.
Yeah, I mean, if there's like, anybody that gets it, it's the artist in Brazil, just like it, yeah, like share that culture, share what you're feeling, bring it to the world, like upload it to these global markets. Um, there's so much like in that culture, there's so much like passion and fire, and like how we begin to translate that and share it to global audience for me is very, very interesting. And I would again, suggest that like check out Nino Artero. It's an artist that's very like post form or what the artist looks like or what the art looks like, but just hyper focused on the message, on like being the glitch, on resisting censorship. Um, check it out. I think it's super cool.
I have maybe one question. I also see Gabrielle is saying, yeah, NFTs are helping a lot here to maintain what we need to do, bringing more dignity.
Yeah.
I guess my question is, in both your minds, how do you think an artist or creator entering this space, or all of us kind of here, can have a sense of the market and like appreciate the market for what it is, but also understand and maybe realize how to detach from the market itself? I don't know if that makes sense.
Let's be real. Like nobody is just going to like pop up and just be like an overnight success. The only thing you can do is like be yourself, share your art authentically, and start to try and get it into the hands of as many people as possible. Like some of the most successful people today were the people that were giving away their art, 2, 3, like X Copy 3 years ago couldn't give away his art, right? Like CryptoPunks were all given away for free. The trash artists, Robness, were selling their works for like $1 in the beginning. It's really about just like being in it for the long term, building up a base of collectors, keeping that same personality, having, some identifiable, recognizable style, or at least like reason for being in the space, and proving that this space allows you to do something different. It's not about like taking all of the work that you uploaded to Instagram over the past 5 years and just turning it into an NFT and expecting it to sell. It doesn't work that way. So like it has to be art of the here and the now. It has to speak to either the state of the community directly or something that you are experiencing in your corner of the world that you want to share more broadly. And what are the values and ideas that you represent in your art captures?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's the market, like it's really hard right now. Just like watching the like, blue chips get decided, or the old traditional hierarchies around art are being moved in, and like the art world, at least in New York City, is like 80% money laundering. Like there's nothing high integrity about it, and there is no need to replicate it. So, I think as much as like speaking to your identity in your art that feels true to who you are, and less listening to the like pump machine that is now backed by hundreds of millions of dollars around like what's the best one? Where do I click here? This is the next art. Like, you can people are already starting to see through it, I think. And this space has so much potential, and it's really important that people feel comfortable expressing themselves fully, because otherwise it will get washed away by, unfortunately, like a very masculine white dude trader type that is dominating right now. And for their benefit and for our own, like, it's important that the variety and diversity of this space is like really, really explored, without any barriers to entry. So everything Colborn was saying, except with a little more cynicism from me. Yeah.
Yeah, agreed. Any questions, any thoughts? Feel free to unmute.
Yeah, look, I'm gonna echo that. It's really tough right now in the market. Like, there are very few art collectors. That it just got washed with speculators. When the money started flowing, just a ton of other artists flooded in. It made for a lot of noise. It made it impossible for curators to begin to like sift through all the new marketplaces, all the new arts. Like, I'm really waiting for, at least on the collector side, for things to die down. For there will be an NFT winter, and that's kind of where the next generation of artists, I guess that I guess crypto artists, what I look for, will be decided. Um, and then I'd say, like, as a new and emerging artist, like, also begin to find the artists that are in your community, and the artists that are going to be vanguards for you and speak to you in your work, and help you collaborate and grow in this space.
Yeah, I think I would also strongly agree that finding the people who care and are in the same path and vision is so, so important, just like all of us here. That's been one of my like favorite parts, and something that keeps me like excited for like years to come in this space.
Anyone wants to chime in the conversation? I can see Zarina's typing, so I'll just wait. But yeah, in the meantime, if there's anything else, any questions or oh, here it is. What kind of new experiences are you hoping to see more of? What new ideas can you see now? Great question.
What type of new experiences are we hoping to see? I'm hoping to see like more ownership over the reason why. I think a lot of the works that have been made as NFTs lack context. I think a lot of collectors also don't really have a story as to why or what they're doing or what they're trying to explore in their collection. Um, I think without like a story or a deeper connection, then a lot of it just becomes, I don't want to say worthless, but perhaps valueless, or a bit of a futile exercise. Um, so I think like the next stage, and I really do think, some major bear market is coming for NFTs, is that people that want to stay around and promote arts and culture will have to tell the story of of why they did what they did and why they were here and why they believe in and support the artists that they have. So it's almost like a I don't know what like the global term is, but what we would call it would be like the come to Jesus moment, like the confessional where everybody has to like come and describe like why they did this. And at that point, that's when you really begin to also like separate the people who were here just from a speculation perspective, or those who actually like felt that connection and cared for the art and cared for the artists. Um, they will have to like make sure their story gets told.
I think there's just a couple of things coming to mind. I am really excited by some of the more like tongue-in-cheek things that are happening. Like just thinking about, I've been thinking a lot about like just the mass amount of NFTs that are potentially going to flow into like your ENS domain now. And like maybe someone creates like an NFT junkyard, and then like someone goes and looks through like, almost like Fabine with like the Astroglades project, except instead of like a person going around that planet, there's like this inundation of stuff. Like I'm looking forward to like projects that start to like poke at what's happening here, because it is a bit funny. And it's mimicking Web 2.0, and I don't know if people are seeing that exactly. Everything that happened with like the dot-com boom, and that was only like 15 years ago, but some of that stuff I think can make for like very interesting art and like concept. In the less like sarcastic side of things, I am really excited by the not the Mark Zuckerberg version of things, but really like the VR, like maybe it's with Lenovo or a different company where like graphics chips they're really going to take on a new edge in 2022, and it's going to be really incredible, the way you can like hear and interact in VR. That's not so that it becomes a place to escape, but it really can be an entire new like, maybe there's like meditation retreats in VR, and it could be this place that that we're all seeking, some like, paradise in your own way. So that's some of the stuff that I'm interested in the next year. But yeah, I keep getting surprised every day, so I'm open to all. What new ideas do you guys see? Zareen?
I'm gonna talk. I guess I'm really interested in seeing how everyone will be sort of creating their new ideas and like what new truths can come from this new experience, as far as like essentially, as instead of the tech itself, like what new ideas and um new thought and movements can come from here, and how much that will change things, both for the good and possibly the bad. All questions, no answers. Sorry.
No, I see what you mean. I think in terms of ideas, I mean, it's a bit anarchist and it's a bit like ultra libertarian to a point where it's like not healthy for like society. But I feel like that's really happening. I don't know where it leads, but I think those ideas are becoming much stronger.
Yeah, it's like so exciting and so scary at the same time,
Yeah. Yeah.
but it's the future, so it's like, what are we gonna say? No, please stop. Like, no, we'll keep going. Thank
Yeah.
you, both of you.
I mean, nothing else in the world is like working so hot, and that's not entirely true, but this is working and it's providing like wealth creation in like an incredible way and totally outside any single nation. So, yeah.
Totally, thank you.
Hey guys, this is Borja. I'm currently at work now and I can't really verbally join you very much, but I just wanted to say that this is so exciting. This is the stepping, I feel like this is the stepping stone of a completely different way that we interact with each other and with the world. And it's creating connections where we've only thought there would be before. And I'm really, really happy to be sharing this feeling with you. And thanks so much for sharing the program and for your work on the museum. It's incredibly inspirational for, I'm sure, for everyone. And thank you.
Well, thank you so much.
Any other thoughts or questions or even maybe suggestions for the museum? I think as Colborn and Shivani mentioned before, like it's very much an open space, so might be a good time as well if you're thinking about something to share it.
I might have a question about the accessibility of museums. If you see the kind of people who go to physical museums, mostly we see privileged people, people with economic means who have been educated to art, and a lot of people who live in disadvantaged neighborhoods or we don't have enough money to pay for tickets for their family are typically less likely to go to museums. So I think it's very important to have this kind of, that the future museums in the metaverse will help to stop this difference between rich people and people less rich that don't go to museums. So what are your thoughts about the global accessibility of art in at the MOCA?
I mean, what a beautiful question. Of course, right? Like, our museum is always accessible from a simple web page, right? And that's intentional. So anybody, anywhere, free of charge, can hop on the internet and go to the museum and begin to learn about like the history of this space and some of the earliest creators in this space. Um, and then from there, it's I really want the collection to be seen as a public good. So I want people to also feel like communal ownership over the pieces there, and that they can go to the museum and know that like these were some of the earliest creators. These are some of the creators that made it all happen in the space, and take it to whatever it is. Like they want to take 5 pieces and go put a show on at, or go to like the bar and have a exhibition of like talk about NFTs with their friends at like a local bar. I want people to feel empowered that it is like their own and it's not like this high and mighty place, but that it's really just a place for everyone and they can use it in any way that they want.
Thank you very much.
I'll just add that it's a really good question, and maybe in the Tate Modern in London is like one of the only free museums that I can think of that like families can walk into rather than just young couples or like art students who are like there to experience something, but rather just like walk in and see what happens from there. But I think that's one of the beauties of digital art, and that's something that Casey Rees had said when we did that exhibition. Nicole, he was talking about that with digital art, it is the most quote unquote premier art is the most accessible, and that's never been the case. It's always been in private collections. All the Monets and Picassos have always been hidden away, and then exposed for like 5-6 years at a time, taken off market. Taken out of the museum, put on the market. Like none of that happens here. It's fully accessible. So I think that's very encouraging for like democracy and transparency.
Thank you very much, Shivani.
So Garizan asked, I'm just wondering how we utilize the incubator as part of VCA. I can take that, or Shivani, if you want to take that.
Yeah, it's completely up to you. It is a sandbox. There's land, there's, you know, funding for your own like exhibitions, for projects. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's very much open. The first thing that comes to mind, which is, I guess, the more straightforward, is land. So obviously, like any virtual exhibitions that you would like to do, that you would like to set up, that you're thinking about, just share it with me, share it with Shivani. We can have a call, we can have a chat. And then from there, it can kind of lead on to different things, whether it's you know, maybe working together as a group to set up a physical and virtual exhibition. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. Like, I'm just kind of like putting ideas, but it can be anything really. So, yeah, it's pretty much up to us, up to you, up to whatever you want to do.
I know with the last residency cohort, we had talked about it becoming like the exhibition space at the end with like any artworks, and I think Ariam ended up being more. It was like more accessible. There was also like a team that was able to like build around that. So maybe instead of like it becoming that like exhibition space, it could be like you know, if different anyone who's interested, if there is like a desire to make like a like different experimental builds on like two pieces of land, and then you know, within each build, like one group is able to think about like a certain concept, and another group is able to think about another concept in the other one, and then there's like a show that's like less about like the end of more about exploring like maybe some of the topics we've touched on today that people are interested in, identity, freedom. Yeah, that could be cool. But yeah, totally up to you.
Cool. Are there any other questions or thoughts? I can also set up a channel here actually, just for the incubator, so that like we can just chat about different ideas. Maybe that could work rather than it being the architectural channel. I'll maybe set up a new one just for that. Awesome. Okay, so if there's no other thoughts or questions, thank you so much to Shivani and Colborn.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you
Thank
so much.
you.
Thanks, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Same.
Thank you,
Bye.
Ciao.
Nicole.
Bye bye.
Thank you.
Ciao,
Bye.
ciao.